told you that the biggest breakthroughs in your family history research could be hiding in plain sight in the census records? Hey guys, if we haven't met before, I am Lisa, and this YouTube channel is designed to help you find your ancestors, grow your family tree, but not be overwhelmed in the process. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, you're in the right place. Today's video is sponsored by Ken, and I'll be sharing more about them in just a bit. Now, I have noticed a trend in the genealogy consults and VIP days that I have done. We often end up right back in census records. Those records that so many of us start out with, those very traditional, commonly used records that we use in genealogy research, oftentimes are holding stories and clues to our family history and those brick walls that we are missing. So what are the mistakes that we are making as researchers that are keeping us from getting everything we need out of the census record research that we do? Well, the first mistake that you could be making when it comes to your genealogy research in those census records is that you are too focused on just the names and the date. When you are a brand new genealogy researcher working on a family line, you're just starting out on a family line. It doesn't matter how many years of experience you have when it comes to researching. There is always a thrill. You find your ancestor named in that census record and you find the dates. You're able to put them in time and place. You get clues to their birth dates or their birth years and the family unit as well. There is nothing more thrilling than getting that, finding them in those census records. I get that because I still, after all these years, I still get such a thrill when I can find an ancestor in a census record that I've been working on. But what happens is when we are just looking at names and dates, yes, we're getting our ancestor in place and time. Yes, we are establishing family units and determining perhaps parentage. But we're missing the fuller story about that ancestor, but we are missing out on valuable clues to not only share that story of the ancestor with family members, also to have that just personal connection with that ancestor at a deeper level. I want to turn the camera around, take you into the 1900 census for Israel Lisson, and show you a really interesting story that I was able to pull out from just that one census record. Okay, so we are over here at the 1900 census for Israel Lisson, my husband's ancestor, and this was census. He was enumerated in Monroe County in Rochester, New York. So the point here to show you is really kind of the story that we might miss if we weren't looking for the full story of Israel. If we're new and just kind of finding the family in the census record, we're thrilled because here we have Israel, we have his wife Dora, we have his children Sam, Hyman, Abram, Mary, Davy, Benny, and Bertha. So we are thrilled. We've got this. We have their relationship to the head of the household. We have their birth month and their birth year with their ages. This is fantastic information. And I'm going to be honest with you, on my first pass through the census record, I kind of took that and just kept on running with it. So I missed a lot of the other information that was here. I recognized it was here, but I was sort of missing it a little bit. Now, here's the story that I want to show you that I pulled out of this particular census record that I found absolutely fascinating. And so I'm going to be focused on Israel and his wife Dora. So let me enlarge this a little bit for you. All right, and so what we see here, we have Israel, and he was born in 1859. He's 41 years old. And we have his wife Dora, who was born in 1861, and she's 39 years old. They have been married, and they have been married for 21 years. Dora has given birth to 7 children, and all 7 children are still living. They were born in Russia. Their parents were born in Russia. So this is an immigrant family. So take a peek over here, though. We are over here looking specifically at their immigration information. And what we see is that Israel arrived in 1886. He's been, as of 1900, he's been in the country for 14 years. Now, Dora and the 3 oldest children, or the 3 sons, didn't arrive until 1891. And they've been in the country at this point for 9 years. Israel is naturalized. Now, the interesting thing here is that I missed going into this is that Israel arrived a full 5 years before his wife and 3 sons arrived. So for 5 years, Dora is over back home in Russia, which research has shown me was actually Lithuania, or what do we know today is Lithuania. She was over there raising these young children on her own, and then she gets herself and these 3 young boys to America to join her husband. I have an amazing sense of respect and profound awe of this woman that did this, of Dora doing this, and of Israel for having to have left the family. And it does make me want to know more about this family line and this history of what was the thing that said we have to leave. Now, what an amazing journey they had to take and the struggles that they had to have to be able to make this journey, because they were actually married in 1879. That tells us they'd been married about 7 years before Israel had to leave Russia for America, and then she followed 5 years later. That's a long time. That is a long time. So I do have an amazing appreciation, and I missed this story on the first go round, and this is a story I definitely want to have told. I want it preserved, and I want it told within the family, because it is such a powerful story of family and of really just determination to get to America, determination to overcome whatever it was happening back home, and to have a better life for themselves. Now, today's video is sponsored by Aken, and I want to thank them so much for that. So what is Ancestry Without Stories? And a book to keep them in. Aken gathers what you may know and researches what you may not know about your family history to weave together illustrative stories and engaging imagery for your one-of-a-kind ancestry book. From research summaries to biographical shorts, lineage collections, and more, Aken offers an assortment of book design options to suit your style. Created using combined design and genealogy expertise in premier printing methods, an Aken book elegantly commemorates your and your family's authentic history. So schedule your free consultation today at aken.house and create your book of a lifetime. I will have a link to Aken down in the description below. And again, thank you so much for sponsoring today's video. Now, the second mistake that you are probably making when it comes to genealogy research in that census record is you have no systematic approach to your census research. Having a system, a workflow, and a defined way of approaching data gathering out of that census record is crucial to your genealogy research, and making sure that you do not miss anything when it comes to gathering information on your ancestor. When we don't have that systematic approach, when we are simply going in, looking at names for our ancestors, grabbing the dates that are involved and maybe the family unit, and we're not going systematically through a little checklist basically in our head, whether it's in your head or whether it's written down, then we risk missing some clues that could potentially impact our future research. And we want to make sure that future research, you as a future researcher on this family line, have what you need so that you are efficient and can make headway when it comes to breaking through some genealogy brick walls. So what would a systematic way of analyzing a census record look like? Well, the first thing that I do when I get to a census page is that for an ancestor is that I verify that yes, my ancestor is on that census record. So the first thing I'm going to do is look through the list of names, the heads of households or the list of names, determine if yes, indeed, this is my ancestor, the right family, and the right record, because I don't want to waste time analyzing a record that maybe didn't actually have the right person in it, correct? So I'm going to go in and verify that I have the right ancestor, the right family or family unit. Then I'm actually going to pop back up to the very top of that census record, and I'm going to make note of certainly the location of where this census record was taken. So, what is the county, what is the state, what is the community that individual is being enumerated in. I'm going to look at the date that this census record was being enumerated, because that's important to know that the information pertains to the census record taking on that date. So I'm going to get that date as well. Then I'm going to go back to that ancestor's entry, and I'm going to go column by column, literally column by column, and see what I can discover. I'm going to get all the data that I need, the name. I'm going to notice any variations of spellings. I'm going to look at marital status, gender, obviously, the race, if that's mentioned. I'm going to look at dates, maybe a birth year. Maybe there's a birth month. Maybe we're at that point. I'm going to look at where they were born. I'm going to look at if the parents are mentioned, the birthplace of parents are mentioned. I'm going to notice that. I'm going to notice each column, is there a naturalization column, immigration information in that particular census record? I'm going to go just each column one by one. Now here's a tip, pro tip here, guys. Keep a blank census record right next to you on your desk. You can get these for free at, on the National Archives site, the NARA site, or the major genealogy databases like Family Search, Ancestry have these. Print that off, and I just keep one beside me, and that way I can read the columns a little bit easier than trying to flip back and forth up and down on that particular computer screen. So have that beside you. Each column, get that data that you need. And then once I am done with that particular ancestors line, I'm going to take a look at their community. I'm going to look at who the neighbors are. Now, recognizing that the census, it may not be their literal next door neighbor, but I am looking at a community. And so I'm going to look at what street they live on. I'm going to look who is on either side of them. I'm going to look at the entire page, and I'm going to look at the pages before and after just to kind of get an idea of who's living close. Do I recognize any of the surnames or other family units? Are they potentially family members that they're living close to? Or are they people that show up as witnesses in their documents? This is their community, so I'm going to make note of that. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes I recognize things, and other times I don't, but it's information I just kind of store away on what I call the back burner because it may become important later on. I'm also going to look at some of the birthplaces. I like to go in and look at the birthplaces of the individuals who live in that particular community because it tells me, particularly if I'm researching immigrant ancestors, it tells me something about their neighborhood and who's in that neighborhood and perhaps what might be important to that particular population. If they are living among other Russian Jewish immigrants, well, then that tells me something about the community. And so this is going to be important to take a look at before I ever leave that census record. Now, I am all about staying on track with my genealogy research by using systems. If you would like to learn more about helpful systems to use in your genealogy research, be sure and hit that like button. That'll let me know that you guys are interested in learning more about systems and workflows, and I will get to work on creating some more YouTube videos to help you out with that. The fourth mistake that I see commonly happening that we have to overcome is not cross-referencing the information that we find in a census record with other records. So as we know, census records were human. They made mistakes, absolutely. And sometimes what we're seeing in those census records can be more along the lines of even our ancestors either making a mistake or they're answering information about someone else in the family. I think they were about 30 years old when that was taken, that kind of thing. So they may be doing their own estimations as well, or they could just be straight up lying about their age if they want to appear younger or older, however it could be. But what that means is sometimes we see anomalies happening in those census records and we're like, I'm not really sure what to do with that. So we have to be able to use other records to help and cross-reference those records to make sure we accurately tell our ancestor stories and document them on that family tree. Now, the fifth mistake that you could be making when it comes to your census research is really overlooking the special schedules or those non-population schedules. Oftentimes we are overlooking those. Now, those are going to be things such as mortality schedules, which are extremely helpful for you. The paupers list, the poor and paupers list, the DDD schedules that are out there, the agricultural census. And these non-population schedules can offer excellent information about your ancestor and give you a very unique perspective on certain aspects of their lives. Now, whether you are brand new into searching your ancestors in the census records, or you've been at this a while, let's make sure that we are avoiding these 5 common mistakes. Let's avoid these pitfalls and so that we can grow an accurate family tree and a healthy family tree. Now, losing an ancestor in the records is not uncommon at all, and I want to make sure you know what to do when that happens to you. So watch this video, 15 strategies to find that missing ancestor, on your screen now.